All right, so I'm going to continue with a video that that's associated with this channel that I created in our course Discord server. So it's the animation project. How to, and I just pinned a message there. Creating a point-and-click animation game, basically a visual novel. So I'm illustrating how to do this with a web application. So we're going to go into detail about how to build web apps this way. But then at the same time, I'm going to be kind of experimenting with and developing a technique to create visual novels and pretty much simple point-and-click animation games that are good with touchscreen devices, but also play well on mouse-oriented computers, large and small displays. So that's kind of the dual purpose there. Learn web development, and then also kind of build a procedure or a set of tools that can be used to create these other types of things, these games or game-like interfaces. Anyway, I'll close that out. And I've been working on this this code base here, and I think what I want to do is start committing to this animation repository. Let's see, it's where did I put that thing? I think it's called Anim. I'm going to start committing to this. And maybe I'll use different branches. I'm not sure yet, but I need to tag things better so I can go backwards and so on. And so I'm going to start where I left off last time. And I've been committing to another repository. Let's see here. It's called, and this is just an example. I'm going to trash this, so I'll be deleting this today. And I use this to illustrate how to do this API exercise, how to do the JSON exercise, or assignment. I'm calling them assignments. And how to set up GitHub and so on. And but you can see there's extra folders here since my last video. I've been putting stuff in there and moving things around. And I've been experimenting with different ways of building this thing I'm talking about. But so what I did was I wanted to go backwards to a commit that is where I left off in my last video, and then start from there. So if I look at this, I can see that, and I remember I looked at the video, I posted it on May 31. So this is the commit, and there's the number right there, see? So this is the commit, this is the repository, the state of the repository when I finished that last video. So I'm going to go backwards to that and then work from that point. Actually, I could just do it right here. And why don't I just use this? This is a kind of convenient interface right here. So if I go through here, this is the commit number, see? F103546, and I can look at this stuff here, the F103546. So all of these, so a commit is like a snapshot of everything. So as I look at each individual file, they all have the same commit number, because we're looking at the snapshot of the project at that particular time. Even though some of the files didn't change between commits, it's just going to show it here as being, so we're browsing this particular snapshot here, this number. So let's, what I want to do also, I'm going to, it's not that good to use GitHub Pages to demo stuff. I found that it's kind of inconvenient and gets in the way of designing a system. So I'm just going to work on the local host for now. So if you want to test this thing yourself, any code that I develop here, then you got to you'll have to clone the repository and set it up and run it locally on your machine to see how it works. Or if you would just create your own version of what I'm doing and go and create a variation of it, do things differently, whatever. It's always good to experiment. Look, I'm constantly experimenting and throwing things away and building new stuff, and so that's how I learn. And I imagine that's how other people can learn as well, but everybody has their own way of doing things, of course. So I don't want to talk too much about that. So let me go ahead, and you'll see this. This is the repository. Where is it, Annie? Right there. And I'm going to open up. I'm going to work with VS Code. So I'm on Windows right now, but VS Code also works on Mac and Linux. I think it works on Linux. I know it works on Mac. I use it on Mac as well. And it's convenient if you want to work on Mac and Windows at the same time on a project. It's you put everything in a remote repository like GitHub, and or some other method if you don't want to use GitHub, because when you put stuff on GitHub, you're basically exposing it and giving it over to Microsoft. They're the ones that own it. And so if you don't want to do that, then you got to develop your own process of, like, you could have a local remote repository that you put on a flash drive, for instance. I've done that. So that works all right. But I'm going to use GitHub so everybody can see it. And so anyway, so this VS Code works well if you're trying to develop an app that you want to test on Macintosh, like OS 10 and iOS. Then you want to run it on OS 10, right? So you want to do the development there and the testing there. And then, of course, test on real devices as well, like an iPhone or an iPad. So when you use this repository, a remote repository, and a tool like VS Code, because VS Code runs on Mac and Windows, that is very convenient to do the development. It's almost not necessary. So I'm just going to open up that folder. That's what you do. Just in VS Code, these things are, what it does is it looks at folders. So a project is in a folder. Now I see I got this API test in there. Is that right? I have that in there. Let me double check that. Does it have API test in here? And it doesn't show that anything. This is my commit right there. 77cc, right? So I don't know how this got in here. Why is this here? This is, I don't know how that got in there. Let's see. We can open up the console here and do git status. Oh, jeez. Just woke up this morning. All right, these API test is on track, so I don't even need that. I want to get rid of that. And the README is modified. And if I do git diff, I can see the differences. So git diff README. What did I do differently? Touch-based 2D animation. So I basically changed something in there. So that's all right. And so this is deleted. It shows it here. I'm going to set this up. So normally, when you're doing a web application, you don't keep all your. Usually they typically call it a public folder. So I'm going to create that new file, new folder, usually called public. Here it is, public, and that's where you have stuff, like that you would say post or upload to a hosting site. You don't want to upload all your source code and everything like that. So you have a folder set aside that you're going to use for publishing your stuff. And index.html, so this is for beginners, everybody, but I cover a lot of advanced stuff as well at the same time, but it's going to be slow for a lot of people. But this is the way I do it. And so anyway, index.html, you remember when this is a special name, index.html. This is the default file that's presented to a browser when it requests a folder. So if it goes to the web server and says, give me this folder, and the web server is usually configured to do one of two things. It's either configured to show a listing of the contents of the folder, or it can be configured to do both at the same time. So if it finds an index.html file, it serves that. If it doesn't find one, then it shows a list of folder contents. Actually, we don't even need this then, do we? If we just have folder contents in there. Let me think about that for a minute. So this is just say hi. And I'm going to set this up. I think, what did I show last time? I'm going to take a look at what I have here. This is what I have. So I set this up, this canvas here, VS Code. So I went ahead and I showed about this task here, how to run the web server. All right. So I'm going to set this up again. This is the one of the tasks. Let's go ahead and see that. Let me go ahead and create that task. So let's see. I'm going to do. Can't remember how to do this. Configure tasks. So if I select this, it's going to create a file. Create task.json from a template. All right, there's other options here, and I'm not going to get into those because I don't know what they do. And I did this last time actually. This is the generic one. It's just kind of empty. So you created a subfolder .vs code. You use dot because that means keep the folder hidden under Linux or Unix style command line interface. So now Windows is different. They'll show it in Windows. It's not a hidden file in Windows. Let's see how that looks. See here. See, they show it here. They don't hide it when you're using this file explorer. They put it in there. And so it's just a file. It got generated. That's how they do it. That's the default. And, I don't need this comment. I've read this before. And these are the tasks, and there's an echo task here. So I'm giving a little lesson about how this works. So you can run that task, and here it shows it right there, echo. It says echo hello. Right, so this is the command, and I could do ls, for instance. And by the way, I have this configured. Let me do that again. Run task, echo, ls, see? And it shows there's a public folder and a readme there. See, there's the public folder and the readme. So, oops, press any key. Now, here, this shows kind of like the file interface, but if you look down here at extensions, you'll see I have this is one of the nice things about VS Code. You can modify its behavior, extend its support for different development environments that you're working in. And these are extensions that I added to VS Code. So I want to be able to build C and C++ programs. So I added that extension. I want to use ESLint. This is an extension that adds this ESLint system to check your JavaScript, to look for syntax errors and style problems, and it just helps you lint. Lint is like dirt that gets on your clothes. You want to get rid of the dirt. So you want to take the dirt out of your JavaScript code, so you can use this delinter. And so I got that in there. And although I haven't been using it that much recently, but I found it kind of useful at the beginning. I might get back into that and talk about it at some point here. NPM is, I'm not sure if I installed that or added that in there, but that's, of course, essential for what I do because I use Node a lot. That's Node Package Manager. And then there's Git Bash. This here, when you install the command, when you install Git, from that website, I forgot the name of that thing. It's Git. Where is it? This one here. When you install the Git client, I guess it's a client from here, downloads that, and set it up on Windows anyway. That it installs this Git Bash, so it's a command line interface that's similar to Linux. Or the interface that you have on the Mac. So that's very convenient. So I use that. So when I installed that, I set it up so that that's my default command line interface. So that when I go to access this terminal here, what it does is it gives me. You see, this is not a what do they call it? PowerShell. I think if you don't set up this extension, you're going to get I think a PowerShell command line interface. And I started to work with that and thought I'd try it out, but I didn't get much out of it. It's really unnecessarily complex, and it's different than the command line interface for Mac, and so I didn't want to have to learn a separate one. So I just went with Git Bash to do a lot of stuff. And Git Bash is based on this Ming, whatever it's called, Ming W64, Ming GW64, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it, but this has been around a long time. It's a implementation of, I guess it's Bash, this command line interface that runs on Windows. All right, so I forgot how I set that up. There's a way to do it in here, maybe configure tasks. I can't remember. That's not it. There's a way to do it. Maybe it's under settings or something like that, and so you got to set that up. Maybe when you install this extension or add the extension. Let me go in here. This is disable, uninstall, another version, probably in here somewhere. Anyway, so just to let you know, you have to do some configuration, and you could actually, open up a different command line. Let's try that. We open up this one, and I'm not going to bother with that. Just exit that. Now, so I typed in exit, and I only have one there. So what am I trying to get at here? Just trying to show how to use this VS Code, because it's widely used. VS Code it's not a minor player. It's pretty important. So this is here's the extension stuff here. Maybe you get to set it up in here. I don't know. All right, well, I'll let you figure that out on your own. And so I'm going to use this command. Here's a command to start the web server, and I'm going to just go ahead and add that in there. This is a Node web server. Based on Node.js, so you have to install that as well. And go ahead and try that. Let's see how that works. And I'm going to use the public folder, not dot. Dot was, when I had in dot here, that means the current directory. That would be the top level, and where public is. So I'm going to run it in this public folder. I pass that in like that. And so I'm going to save that. And let's see if that runs. I don't even know if that's going to run. Let's see. Run the task. And, oh, it's called Echo. But I'm going to change the name of that. I'm going to call it Web Server. Web Server. There we go. It's a shell. All right. Run task Web Server. And it says it can't find it here in node modules. So actually, I remember node modules I have in my parent. Let me try that. Let's see if that works. Let me try that. So run task Web Server. There it is. It's running. Got it. All right. So I'm going to follow that. Whoops. Did I click that? There it is. See, it's a local host 127.0.0.1. That's the IP address for the local computer. One of them. There's other addresses that work. And this is the port number. So 8088. That's the, I guess that's the default port number that this thing binds to. And there's the high right there, so you can see it's, you know, you can play with that. Save that. You go in here and refresh. There it is. So you could just let this run in the background. If I close that, it's still running. The web server's still running. All right, so you'll see that's it's still, even though I close that window, that's still running there, so that's good. And normally, you know, we run this as we look at the developer tools. The very important developer tools are used a lot here. And you want to make sure that you got this disable cache checked here. This is very important. I remember last time this wasn't checked for some reason. I don't know how it got unchecked. But it happens every once in a while, so you always got to think about this. And that's disable the cache only when DevTools is open. So just the other day, I mean, I've been doing this for years, and just the other day, I was making changes to a file and like not seeing changes come through, and I was getting confused, and I spent some time. And then I realized that, oh, I didn't have DevTools open, so it was actually the browser was using cached objects instead of the fresh objects that I had been saving into the file system through VS Code. So this is very important to keep in mind. You must remember this. This is such a common mistake, and it's a mistake that even you know, the pros are make, and they have to keep in the back of their mind. So this is, I'd say, one of the more important things to look at. And I'm going to close that out. So it's good to just keep this thing open while you're working. If you want to see what it looks like in full screen mode, you just do this in regular mode. And I use the hotkeys to toggle it on and off, so it's really easy to open that thing up. All right. So let's see. I'm going to keep going here. So we got this web server running. And let's see, what am I going to do next? Not going to go with this. I'm not going to bother using GitHub pages. And I got this, let's see, inside Canvas, we've got these files here. And this shows, maybe I'll just go ahead and recreate these guys. Actually, let me do it out here in the file system. There is this is the, no, I better not do that, it'll confuse people. So I'm gonna, like, I can show this as a raw file, look at that. That's convenient, and I could just copy that. And that's, there's the file that I got, And we're using modules. I'm using modules, so I'm going to just take this out. We don't need that. So we have this thing called gcanvas, and then we have this index.js that we load and run. And so we're going to create that index.js. Oops, sorry about that. And go up to index.js. Control A, Control C. I love hotkeys. You know, I don't like to use the mouse too much. And that should have a semicolon right there, by the way. Normally, this would not have a semicolon here because it's a function definition. It's just a style. You wouldn't put that there. And this has get a semicolon, and this one would get a semicolon because it's a function definition, but it's an assignment of a function. Here, say to a variable or whatever. And so this is that. And if I go out to here and reload, there it is. That's the canvas. So let me stop now and then continue the next segment. All right, let's see. If I go into sources here, you know, I better use this as maximize. And if I look at this canvas element here, and where's the CSS with that? This is sources. Oh, elements, that's it. And I look at this canvas element, and I see that, you know, that's what the element looks like. Oh, it gets the whole thing, right? Oh yeah, so now I remember what I want to do. So I want to fix the canvas just when you're designing like a game or a game-like interface, you know, and the way I'm envisioning it is we have a background image, and it'll be of a fixed size. So if we want to use that as an aspect ratio, so we'll scale it up and down to fit the user's device screen. But we want to keep the aspect ratio the same. So we're going to have letterboxing. I mean, we don't have to have letterboxing. There's a process of eliminating letterboxing by having, you know, creating a large, and if anybody's interested in doing this, let me know, because I'd love to do some kind of prototype using this. I've presented on this in the past, letterboxing. But I'm going to leave it out unless somebody comes forward with an artist that wants to produce assets for me, then I'm not going to get into this. Letterboxing, what the heck? Letterboxing. Hobby. What the heck? Letterboxing HTML or letterboxing canvas. Yeah, so you know, actually I can't find it now, but there was a really nice site that talked about this, and I don't want to get into it. So, but let me say a little bit that if you have, and I covered it in earlier courses and videos actually, but it's hard to find that stuff. I got so much recorded, and but you can have you can design your background to be large. And then you have the gameplay area, which is a sub area within this larger background area. So you make sure you always render the inner rectangle, we'll call your gameplay area. So you want to be able to respond to touch events or click events inside your gameplay area. And any essential information for the user needs to be presented in this gameplay area. And the gameplay area is a rectangle that's within the larger rectangle that comprises your background. And so you can cut out some background as long as you don't cut, to avoid letterboxing. You can cut out some of the background as long as you keep your gameplay area always visible and in the screen and responding to touch events. So that's a technique, and it takes some time to work out the math. It's not that hard. But I'm not going to go down that route. I was just going to mention that if anyone is interested in eliminating letterboxing with kind of I'd be happy to work with an artist on that. So once again, that's if anybody steps forward and wants to look at that, that's great. Let's do it. Do it together. All right. So where is that? I'm here. Oh yeah. So I don't think I have much else. I mean, that was it, right, from my first presentation. This other stuff was for the assignments. So I think I'm at this point. This is okay. Now what I want to do is go to the most recent commit. And how do I get there? What the heck? Oh, up here. 4 days ago, that doesn't make sense. That's not where I want to go. So if I go up to here, 2 days ago, that's my most recent commit. Let's see. 10 commits. 2 days ago, that's my most recent commit. I guess I can look at that one. And I guess I had this bin folder. What did I do in there? Oh, make Sprite. Yeah, this is creating a Sprite sheet. I'm not going to go down that route. And in here, I've got stuff and some scripts. And in these scripts, I've got utils. And I want to show how to basically load an image or display an image in this canvas element. So I'll start with the simple approach first, and I'm going to close that. And you would have, say, an image using this image tag. So the goal here is to display the background image in the canvas, or any image. And, oh, wait a minute. Before I even do this, well, the image will look something like this. This is a self-closing tag, so there's no content. So we could do that. And I'm going to comment that out. That's an HTML comment. And this canvas, like I have this background is black. So if I make the body background, say white, is that right? Oh no, the canvas stretches out to the entire area. That's right. Now I remember. All right, so let's do this first. So I got two things I want to do today, and I want to get the aspect ratio fixed, and then I want to show how to load images. So I started with images. Let's do that. So I had developed where is it? A background here. I used Fire Alpaca. Let's go ahead and do that. So I created a folder. I want to keep my art assets in a folder. And so I'm going to create a folder for that. And I use this free program called Fire Alpaca. And I'll just call it's like a mini Photoshop, Fire Alpaca. So I'm going to call the folder that. And then I'll go ahead and create a background. And hit OK on that. Let's see. Go ahead and I'm not good at using this tool, so I know I make mistakes. But we could use this aspect ratio here, which is going to give us pretty large assets. So I'm going to shrink it down. Let's see, what's the next size down, which is pretty good. This is, what was it? I can't remember what it was. Was it 1080? So if you look at this aspect ratio, 1920 by 1080. Oh yeah, I remember. I set my monitor. Let me, I set my monitor so that I could record videos and not have things too small. And what did I set it at? Yeah, 1280 by 720. So that it just saves a little space. I don't want to create things that are too big, but if you're doing a project, and you might want to use a bigger aspect ratio, because you can always scale down. And if you're sending images to phones or something like that, you can also scale them down before even delivering them over the internet. So that's. But I'm going to make things scale down. I'll use a 1280 by 720. Let me use that. And so now I'm in Fire Alpaca, 1280 by. So go ahead and create a new project. So this is 1280 by 720. All right. And the background color, do we want it to be, because it's going to be background, so we could just use color. And but I was packing these in a Sprite sheet, but I think I'm going to leave it out. Let's go ahead and go with a non-transparent background. I think maybe I won't. Maybe I will use a transparent background, and I'll explain that a little later. It doesn't matter that much right now. And so let's go ahead and save that. And then I can start doing stuff on it using the bucket tool, for instance, and whatever. And then having something weird, and then I don't know, whatever. And so here's our background. Let's fill it in a little. There we go. Just a background. Change the color maybe. There you go. Some pretty color there, huh? And so just save that. And where's it going to save it? It's going to show me where does it want to put it. So I'm going to put it inside this inside that Fire Alpaca folder. So this is my Fire Alpaca files. And let's see, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it, I don't know what to call this thing. We'll call it like test or something like that. All right, test. Or test 1. And now but we can't display that. This is a file that's stored in Fire Alpaca format, so we want to export it, and we're going to export it as a transparent or 24-bit PNG. So this doesn't have the alpha layer, so each pixel will be represented by 3 bytes. Here, if it's a transparency, then each pixel is represented by 4 bytes, and the 4th byte or the 1st byte, I don't know, however they organize it, that's going to have that alpha channel So it represents the, the strength that you would assign to that color when blending with another pixel with another color. So I'm going to leave it at transparent, and although it's okay to set it at this one too, at this point in time. And I'm going to use PNG in general. So it wants to know where do you want to put it, and this is test one. I think I called it it's the test one background, right? So I'm going to just call it BG for background. And where are we going to put it? Well, let's go into this folder. There it is, Annie. And we're going to load this background. So let's go ahead and drop it right inside the public folder. And I don't know, I guess we put it anywhere. It doesn't really matter. I'll just call it BG for now. And yeah, we'll just do that. Okay. Now I can close this out. And so you'll see it's in there. We can even view it here. And how are we going to render this? Well, the source, src, is going to be set to bg.png. There we go. And then if we open that up, there it is. Toggle that on and off. All right, that's the image. That's the image. But we want to display the image in our canvas as a background. So if we give this image, now I could set the style up here. There's three ways of setting styles. One is to use an external style sheet. This is an internal style sheet. And the other one is a style attribute. This is the internal style sheet. And I can also do it here. I have a style attribute. So the style would be, say, display : none. So I'm saying don't show yourself. Just be invisible. There it is. Once again, it's good to keep this open like that. So now what we want to do is render it inside the canvas. So here's we don't need that up there. Let's give it an ID. So we want to be able to pull it out. So we're going to call it our BG, see? And I'll put a G in front of it in a minute and explain what I'm doing there. So that's the ID, it's our background image. So here, where is it? We're adjusting the canvas and so on. And so this script, if you look at it, you have to pay attention. The script runs after this image is loaded here. See, so we can just write that right in here. So we can go ahead and draw the image right inside the canvas. So the canvas we can access using this syntax right here. So it's, I think I went over this last time, right? So I don't have to use get element by ID because globally scoped. Did I explain all that? I guess I got to do it again. So here's the background image. We'll call it BG here. And we use this document object to get element by ID. See, it's all coming up there, and this is the BG. This is the ID. Okay, that's that name right there. BG matches with the ID we set here. So that's how we pull it out. So this is the BG. And now we want to draw that into the canvas. And let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and load this up again. And the BG is there. Look at this. Whoops, not that. So I'm in a module. Remember, this thing is loaded as a module here. So this BG has local scope. So if I give it Windows scope or global scope by attaching it to the, so we can now pull it up. BG, I think, there it is. It shows us the, this is the ID here. But look at this. We don't even need to do this. Let's take this out and load this. BG. There it is. Just using an ID, setting an ID in an element creates a globally scoped variable. And that's why I was calling this thing, gcanvas here. I called it gcanvas because I didn't want to bother to use document, get element by ID, and pass in the canvas ID. I just wanted to just start, so I can eliminate this line and just use BG directly. So, if I do console log, oh yeah, we had that log function. Look at that. I think we talked about that last time, right? So I can do log BG. Let's see, there it is. It just shows it up right there. So just as a reminder, I don't want to, so these IDs, they sort of pollute the global namespace. It's interesting. And I think they wouldn't do that if they had to design this all over again, but that's how they did it. So they're sticking to it. So if I'm going to just prefix all these IDs with G underscore, just as the way to say that, it's part of the global namespace, and that's how we can access it just globally. So, and this is it's sort of a pseudo namespace that I'm using, G underscore, right? So that there's nothing in the browser API there's no predefined variables that start with G underscore. So that's what a prefix that I'm going to use as a convention to keep my global variables, keep their names, clean and clearly distinct from the pre-existing global variables that the browser has for us. And so, that's how that would look. All right, no problem. Okay. So that's a long-winded explanation. And now what I want to do is there's something called a context. So our canvas element, I'm going to use CTX. It's a conventional name that's used a lot in examples. The context, the drawing context, the graphics context, we're going to pull that out of this canvas element. And it's going to be, canvas dot get context, something like that. I can't guess that. And where can I find that? Probably in here somewhere. These are, let's see, get context. Where is that done? Done in here. Where do I do that? Not there. There it is. Get context. Yeah, get context. And you can pass in a 2D context, or I think there's only two arguments, 2D or 3D. Well, maybe not. I don't remember. But if you want to use OpenGL, and then you pass in a 3D, make this a 3D context. Maybe it's something a little different than that, but you can use most of the OpenGL commands that are designed for mobile apps. mobile devices. You can use those using a 3D context, but we're not going to get into that. Let's just use the simple 2D context. And once we have this context, we can then use it to draw. So there's a draw function in there. Let me just try to remember how to do that. And that's main. Let's see. I think Sprite Sheet has a draw in it. There it is. Draw image. That's it. So, so we draw the image. This is nice. It shows us everything right here. This is the canvas image source, so that would be G underscore BG. Right? And then this is the DX. What does that mean, DX? That's the, oh, like it shows us three different ways of specifying this. There it is. Oh, DX, that's destination. That's destination. In the source image was the destination. So they give us three choices here. This is the destination coordinates X and Y. And yeah, let's keep it simple. Let's just use it like that. So we'll make the destination 0, 0, and then we'll play with it to see how that works. So that's good. I don't have to check the documentation. I'm just looking at the little help that Visual Code is giving to me, or VS Code. They call it VS Code. By the way, I haven't shown that yet, but so VS Code, and probably if you want to follow me and kind of do stuff and ask me questions, like if you get stuck on something or you want to duplicate something that I'm doing and it's not working for you, then just ask me, and especially in the forum there that we got in that channel, and then I can answer those questions. So this is the Visual Code, and you can download that. So other platforms. So there it is, Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. And there it is, 1, 2, 3. And it runs on all three of those. It's very convenient. It's so convenient, and very pretty happy with it. So that's how you get that. And but this draw image, see here in this code, I'm calling draw image with its full set of arguments. But here I'm just using a reduced set of arguments. This is dx and dy. Now d, I'm just guessing, and I'm pretty sure it means destination. It's the destination, the coordinate of inside the canvas to where to show that image. So let's go ahead and check that. That's there it is. That's the, you know, it's in there, right? So if I give it a, maybe I'm going to give it a, say 50, 100. Now let's give it a different destination. Watch. And reload that. See, it moves it down here. So that's 50 this way and 100 down this way. Is that right? 100? Yeah. That seems like more than 100, but I guess that's what it's showing me there. 50 and 100. And let's scale it down because that's it's not going to work for us. So we look at these other arguments that could pass in. This is the destination width, the destination height. So we actually give it a width and a height. So we can give it, you know, I don't know, say 200 by 300. And let's set this back to 0. So we're going to render it into the origin, the upper left-hand corner. That's the origin normally of 2D spaces. And then this is the width and the height. I'll save that. Let's see what that looks like. There it is. Oh, look at that. So it actually, does it scale it? Let me, what is this? Make that 100 by 100. Let's see. It looks like it's scaling. Yeah, it gets me the whole thing in there, but it scales it, doesn't it? Yeah, that's interesting. So let's look at this third one here. So this is the image, and this is SX, SY. That's the source X and source Y. So we could actually do that. Look at that. This is the source X. Say we pick it up at 500, and the source Y, say 300. And then we have the source width. Let's say we're going to get, 100. Better use more. 400. 400. That's the source height. And then we have the destination. We'll put it in the upper left-hand corner. And then here's the destination width. It's 100. Let's use the same width that we used here. Okay. Destination width, destination height. And there's nothing after that. That's the full specification right there. We're using all the arguments. There it is. So we grabbed a sub-image in there. Oh, this is going to be a background, so we're going to set this to 0, 0. And this is the width and the height. So the width is going to be, what did we use? The image itself is 1280 by 720. I wrote that down here. So that's how we saved the image. That's the size of the image in the file system. And then this is the upper left-hand corner where we're going to start rendering it, and this is the height and the width. So this is going to compress it down. So let's suppose we do 400, and so look, we got this aspect ratio here. So if we want this to be the width, and then the height is going to be, we're going to have to scale it there, right? So it's going to be, say, 720 divided by 1280. So that should preserve the aspect ratio. Let's see it. And it doesn't do that. Doesn't get the whole thing. This is, oh, it's 400 by 400, yeah, and it preserves the aspect ratio. There we go. So that's the destination. What the heck? So this should be the size of the canvas itself, right? So let's suppose I put if I use G canvas dot width, look at this. And this is G canvas dot height, like that. And if we get rid of this, it'll stretch it, but just to show how that works. So we're filling it up exactly, and this will stretch. This just fills it exactly. Now, so here, this is the width and the height are like this. So what we want to do is use letterboxing. So here, we're going to put some maybe letterboxing. We're going to center the canvas, and we're going to have maybe some black or white, whatever, on each edge here, so that we can preserve the aspect ratio of the background image and display it that way. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so here, what we're going to do, we have to set the width and the height. So we do something like, I can't remember, how are we going to do this? Width and height. Let me see. I'll just cheat so I don't have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. How did I do it last time? Let's see. Just to do a quick cheat on this. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I gotta calculate the scale. And yeah, the scale calculates like this. So we have to scale the image. You can see here, this is stretching, right? And so we want to scale this down. So we do like this. the scale, we're using this min function from the math object. So this is a predefined object in JavaScript math. It's got all kinds of stuff in there, like standard deviation, sine, cosine, min, max, floor, and so on. When you pass in any number of arguments, and the function is going to return the smallest of those three arguments. So we don't want to scale up. So we're going to pass in a 1 there. So if these calculations turn out to be bigger than 1, we don't want to scale up. We want to stop at 1. So we don't want to go any bigger than 1. So 1 is passed in, and then the inner width. So the width of the art that we have, the image that we have, is 1920, but we changed that. That's going to be, what is that, 1280. That's 1280, and this is 720. 720, and you know what? I should give those global scope because we might play around with this. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do const. I'm going to do window dot g underscore w to be 1280, and then this is how I'm giving it window scope. I'm inside a module, so I have to prepend it with this, and this is the height, which is going to be 720. So this lets us change these values more easily later on rather than hard coding them. So this is going to be g underscore w, because we can use it as a global variable now. We set it to part of the window object. So, and this is g underscore h. All right, that's convenient. So, yeah, the width is, if the width of our the window.inner width, right? That's the window, the browser's display, the window in which we're going to put our content. If that's bigger than, if it's smaller than than our sort of design width here, then we have to compute a scaling factor that's smaller. So if the inner width is smaller than 1280, then that smaller number divided by 1280 will be less than 1. So that'll give us that scaling factor. But we have to do the same thing for the height. And then we want the smaller of the two scaling factors. So that's where this scale comes from. And we're going to save that. We're going to need that. So I'm going to define not a const. I can't call it const. I can't do this. I can't do const scale, equals. I'll start with 1. I can't do that because here I want to change the scale, see? So I need to use let. So we use let to declare the variable if we want to change that variable, what it refers to, and which we're doing right there. So we have to use let on that. And then, so the actual canvas width is going to be it's going to be, what's the scaling factor here? It's going to be the scale times our design width, and the same for the height here. So it's the scale times GH. There we go. So that's how we set the canvas height and width. And then down here, we're going to get, let's see what that looks like. Oh, and this, by the way, this is going to be, this is the source. How does that work again? Let's see. It's showing that to us. Let's go ahead and look at that. Oops. Has it got an error in there? No. Oh, see? Did you see that? I did a refresh, but nothing happened. So I opened this up and then... there we go. Try that. That seems to be working. That's right. That's it right there, isn't it? So this goes that way, and let me do this. If I stretch it this way, look at that. So that's working, right? That's nice. But might be better for this. So instead of having all the letterboxing on the right, let's center this up. So half of this, we'll distribute it to the left and the right. And same when we're on a cell phone and we're like this, we want to distribute this letterboxing to the upper and lower areas. We'll do it like that. I'm just going to center it up. I mean, we could just leave it like it is, but I'm going to center that up. So, how are we going to do that? Well, we got to do it like this. Let's see. This is the canvas, and here we got to tell the canvas that it has a position that's specified in absolute coordinates. And then we're going to give it a left coordinate, say 100, just to see what it looks like, and then a top coordinate. And let's make that 100 as well. Oh, it's called 50, half as much, so you can see the difference. This is just so we can see it. I just want to show you how that works. So now we're going to sort of offset the canvas. We're not rendering it at the top anymore. So we reload that. You see that? This is 50 from the top, and this is 100 from the left. Right there. And this is independent of that. Okay. There we go. So let's get that centered up now. So that's how you do that. But if I take this out, it's going to be default to 150. It's going to default to 0, 0. So let's see. I think, yeah, and it does. There it is. So we want to be able to set that in code, the left and the top in code. So how do we do that? Well, we do it here. We have a variable that references this canvas element. And this canvas element has a style attribute, which we can reference like this using the dot notation. And the left, I'm going to set that to, say, 250, just to see what that looks like, okay? Let's see if that actually works. Does not work. What happened there? Canvas style.left is 250. What happened there? This is a just canvas. Canvas style left is 250. So if I did left here of 250, it should show up, right? And yes, it does. So left is correct. So that means I'm doing something wrong here. I'm not referencing it correctly. Let's see. The console. Wait a minute, this seems to be working now. Oh, it was the... I didn't have the, what do you call it? The developer tools open. Remember that setting I told you about? It's this enable, where is it? Right there. Disable cache when web tools is open. Where is it? It's somewhere in here. I thought I had it here. Disable cache while DevTools is open. So when DevTools is closed, let me see if I can simulate that for you. Watch this. DevTools is closed. This is the 250. See, and I go to here. Wait a minute. I'll save this. Saving that. There's the 250, and I'm going to change this to 0. Okay, just to get that back. And if I reload this, look at it. I'm reloading this. It still shows 250. That's because this index.js file, which is loaded through this reference right here, is being taken out of the browser cache. It's not, the browser's not going to the file system. It's using its own cache. Well, if I open DevTools, and now I reload, now it gets a fresh version of index.js. So this is very important. Like I'm just today, you can see how I need to think about this cache issue. This is very important. So you can also turn the cache off in general. I think you can do it up here somewhere, but settings maybe, and autofill, whatever. You look in here. I'm not going to bother to do it because I don't want to forget to turn it back on again. All right, so here is how we're doing it in code, and the left is going to be some number, and the top is going to be some number, left and top, some number, but we got to calculate that number to center this thing up. And yeah, I mean, I figured it out before, and rather than taking time and bumbling around, I'm going to just show it here. Center the canvas in the browser window. There's the code that I have right here. And this is my left and top. So in addition to scale, we have left and we have top right there. So this is going to be left, and this is going to be, keep hitting escape accidentally. So that's left and that's top. Oh, I want to save that. And there it is. Left and top are 0. And what we want to do is do that calculation. And this is nice. I'm just going to highlight this. I'm going to do Shift Tab. And I'm using tabs here. So Shift Tab. You highlight this and you tab it, or I Shift Tab to go like that. Tab, tab, Shift Tab, Shift Tab. One of the conveniences of working in a source code editor like VS Code has. So this does the calculation. So we take the left. This is the inner width. That's the width of the display area in the browser window. And we're going to subtract off the canvas width. So what would that look like? So this is from this point right here to right here. That's the inner width. Let me do this. That's, once again, we're going to disable the cache. So the caching is now active. Anyway, this this distance right there is the inner width. And when I have DevTools open, by the way, the inner width, what just happened? The inner width goes from here to this edge right there. And this is the canvas width that we set. And this space in there, that's the difference. So that's this difference here. This is the inner width minus the canvas width. Now that quantity right there, we divide it by 2 because we want to take half of this, put it on the left, and so the other half is going to end up on the right. And then we set it right here. Like, this is an alternative syntax. Right, so this is you can also, use it, this array like syntax to access the properties in a JavaScript object. So style has a property named left, has a property named top. And that's equivalent to using the dot operator. There we go. I keep hitting escape because you do that in VI, and I use VI a lot. So here's, I was just going to hit escape. It's not just VI, it's actually this visual editor, VS Code 2. So here is where I'm setting the left and the top. Let's see that. That's going to center it up. Watch this. There it is. Does not work. This did not work right. So what am I doing wrong here? This is the width and the height. It has to do with maybe when I'm drawing the image. Let's see. Why does that work like that? Why is this so big? If I take this out, why is that not working? And it's giving me this area here. I'm afraid to hit escape. So, style left, style top. This is the left and top calculation. This is the window inner. This is the width. Oh, we didn't set the width yet. So this should be our computed width. We can set the width and the height not through the style attributes. So we could do, maybe it's this. So canvas element has a width and height properties separate from the style attributes. Maybe that's the difference. Let's see if that's it. That's it. So we can either set the width and the height through the style attribute or through CSS, or we can set the width and the height through the width and height attributes that are part of the canvas element. So that's a choice. We could do it either way. So if we wanted to use style here, then we got to use style down here as well. All right, so anyway, it's shorter not to use style. Hopefully that works in all browsers. And let's test this. So here the letterboxing is on the left and the right. And here the letterboxing is on the top and the bottom. And notice this, we have to redraw the canvas. So that's something else we need to do. Let's go ahead and do that. So when we adjust the canvas, we want to sort of call this draw function here. And let's put all this in a draw function. So we'll call this function draw. And we'll just call it like that, I guess. So we want to draw this after we adjust the canvas. So here it is. This is where we draw the image. And this is this should be GW. And this is G height, GH. And this is the canvas width and the canvas height. Is that right? Is that right? I don't know. I have to think about this. So this is, we got to call that draw. So whenever we adjust the canvas, we want to call draw. And you'll see that draw, we're calling draw here, but draw is defined down there. So in normal JavaScript, in the old-fashioned JavaScript, this is okay because they do function hoisting. So all the function definitions or identifier hoisting. Anyway, it's called hoisting. So all the names that are defined appear as if they were declared at the very beginning of the scope that you're in. So but since we're in a module, I think it might turn that off. So let's see. We'll see if it finds that draw method. See, it says cannot access CTX before initialization. Oh, I see. So this here is the CTX hasn't been initialized. So what does that mean? Maybe I could have moved that up. Let me see. I don't want to spend too much time analyzing that. Let's see. I put it in here. I don't know if that's going to fix it or not, but I'm just going to. Here we go. It does. I don't want to analyze that. So there it is. It looks pretty good. It's working just the way we want it to. The letterboxing, the canvas is centered, and the background ratio is the aspect ratio is maintained at all times. So it's better not to have letterboxing, I guess. I mean, unless you like letterboxing, and we could set the letterboxing, through this background color. Why is it coming up white? Why is that? Oh, that's a canvas. So we could give the background color black here. We don't need this anymore. I'm going to just take that out because we're rendering the canvas. We're rendering a background over the canvas. So there it is. Now that's black. And so we could get rid of the letterboxing, like I said, if we make this background image bigger, but just keep the gameplay area inside. And then we'd have to use all this mechanism where I'm scaling. That's how we have to put the gameplay area inside the middle here. But that's quite a bit more code and more complicated. So unless I have a use case scenario unless I have sample art that someone is giving me to do that with, I don't want to do this. So there you go. Now there's another really important issue, which is how to get click events. And maybe I'll save that for a little later and stop at this point. Is there anything else I want to say here? Let me think. This is... let me see. I don't want to end too early here. So this is the. Oh yeah. Now I remember what I wanted to do. So this is one way to bring the image in, and I guess that's a good way to do it. Actually, I mean, why not? Why not? The other way to do it is to. This is the simple way to do it. I was going to show everybody how to do this, how to use fetch. Where is it here? This is where we use, there's the code to load an image here. And here we use fetch with the URL for the image. And when we get a response, we pull the raw image data out by using this blob method. That's just getting the bytes directly. And then that gets passed into this function, and then we create a promise. And then here we create an image object and go through all this text, all this business in here. And finally, we got our image object. So this is how to load an image through script without using the setting the SR. Well, anyway, this is one way to do it, and it's kind of unnecessary. Let's leave it simple. Just leave it like this. So whenever we want to put an image in the game, and we just add it to the body like this to make sure that this display style set to none. And just because we're going to have multiple images probably, or if that's what we end up doing, let's just specify that all images have a display, CSS display property of none right there. So then that saves us from having to put it in there as a style attribute. There we go. That's going to work. I think that does it for now. Now this has to do with the mouse click. Like you want to be able to respond to click events or touch events. And I have a touch screen on my laptop here, so it's going to be convenient to test. So I don't have to test on a phone like right away. I can test using my laptop screen. That's a benefit of having a touch screen on your laptop, is that you can test interfaces that are designed for phones or tablets, while you're developing, rather than having to test on the device itself, which you want to do eventually, but in early development it's more convenient to use the computer. Is there anything else I want to say before I close? I think that's it for now. So I'll put this in the repository, and then I'll continue next time. All right.